Has she spoken? There she is. So, welcome everyone. My name is Ella, but I go by Maya Gandaya, which I received on a wonderful journey with ayahuasca in 2017. And many of you, I'm sure, will know that ayahuasca is kind of a journey of going into what I call your shit so that you can rise above and step out of the stories and the beliefs. And the reason I mention that is because alchemy, the work that I do, is essentially that without the drugs. And it's wonderful, wonderful work. It's also really, really hard work because it's not easy. It's like the Matrix when they take, I believe it's the red pill. It's like once you've taken that pill, you kind of can't go back. And it also makes me think often of like, I'm wearing some funky glasses, right? And then you take off the glasses and it's like suddenly the whole world that you see is completely different. And so my journey with this work, I was in London in 2014 living with an ex-boyfriend, and I want to say he split up with me, but that's my victim talking. It needed to happen that we broke up, but I didn't take it very well at the time. And I discovered this guy called William Whitecloud, who you can look up on the internet. Is a wonderful, wonderful human, but I found extremely triggering. But I just knew that I had to study his work. And so I followed his work for the next like 7 years. And, that's what I now, it kind of really forms the core of what I teach is these principles. But I also have a background in yoga and in movement, and I'm fascinated in consent. So I trained in something called the Wheel of Consent and in the womb space and kind of coming back to the divine feminine. And on William's journey, he taught us about the hero's journey, which is a wonderful, wonderful principle. And I now use, and my background in dance, I have a dance company as well called Ella Mesmer Company. But generally, I will always use the hero's journey as a kind of structure to make my theatre shows. But I came across the heroine's journey and realized that's really what I'm interested in. The heroine's journey is all about waking up to this world that we live in, which when I say patriarchy, I'm not kind of doing a hate on men, but I'm really talking about this world where we're not taught to value intuition. We're not taught to value being in our heart space over success and money and all those other things. And so the heroine's journey is really about coming back home to yourself, and that in that state we understand our stuff, we understand our ego, we understand our shadows, we can work with our intuition, and we can really fly and elevate in terms of the intuitions that I am having now will be small things. They will be dreams. It might be, I've had some really bizarre intuitions. I did have an intuition before lockdown that I needed to order some masks. And that one just made me chuckle because, not much longer after that, the whole thing began to roll. I've just had some of the most strange intuitions that have led to my life now, where I live in Portugal in my own home, which I flipping love. And like I said, it's down the road from this Mexican restaurant that who knew? It's like the smallest little restaurant, and that was all intuition as well. Of I'd chosen this really quite random area, but I just knew in my heart that that's where I needed to live. And so this is the power of intuition and learning to follow it and to have this, I call it knowing rather than trusting. It's like that knowing that's just this confident kind of grounding energy that you follow, and you can just go without that needing to have a conversation with other people. And William actually says opinions are the lowest form of advice. And before I did this work, I was so full of opinions. And so, I really wasn't able to make my own decision. I would ask opinions about what I was wearing. I would get people in to tell me my shows were good enough. It was a constant kind of need for reaffirming and reassurance. Whereas now, I just really am on this path of listening to myself. And it's wonderful because you are being truly of service to the world, but also truly of service to you. And so what I would love to do today is I would love to do just a little exercise to kind of look at the shadows. So another thing that I've trained in is Enneagrams. I think Enneagrams are absolutely wonderful. It's a principle of 9 personality types. And those 9 personality types are really made by the glasses that we put on. And those glasses we put on between the ages of 0 to 4. So imagine that. So for me, my belief is I don't belong. I'm mixed heritage, and I think it's kind of very connected to my identity, this story that I told myself of I don't belong. I didn't belong in the world. I'm very light skinned, so I didn't quite belong in my family. I just didn't belong anywhere. I had this real story. And then I think, like, if I look back at my ancestral line, that was also, that's what my mother's story was. So we kind of inherit these stories as well. But can you imagine that between the ages of 0 to 4, I went, these painful things happen. Right. What does that mean? That means I don't belong. And I put on those glasses, and I wore those glasses everywhere I went. And like, no matter what anyone tells you, you're wearing those glasses. And so the Enneagram for me is really about understanding, where are we holding ourselves back? Because the glass ceilings are real. Yes, there is, we live in this patriarchal world where we might not have the same opportunity. So I'm not in any way questioning that. But how does our behavior affect? And also, how does our behavior mean that we don't then create our own destiny? Just because the world is saying this doesn't mean that that's true. And just because you might be being reflected, that mirror of what you are believing, by other people. So one of my biggest reflections before I did this work was, you can't have it all, Ella. I used to hear that told to me all the time. And you can. That was really the big moment for me, was like, guess what? You can have it all. You can live exactly the life that you would love to live. And it's really about this creating your destiny, that we don't have to be affected by all of that other stuff. We just have to keep on swimming like that gorgeous fish Dora in the direction that you want to go. Just keep swimming there. And eventually you're going to see those beautiful ripples. The moment when I'm like, I live in my dream house. I love my job. Yesterday, I gave this wonderful, I was explaining earlier, I gave my first yoni massage. So I've also been training in a technique called holistic pelvic care with a wonderful human called Tammy Kent from America. And it was this wonderful journey of, I'm going to tell you, I'll try and keep this one short. So I fell over at work. No, I fell over. I got up a car park after a speeding fine in the UK about 2 years ago. And it was actually the venue's fault. And so they gave me some money. And so I went for this wonderful osteo treatment. And the woman said, and when are you going to be ready to talk about your trauma? And it was, that moment of like release, but also like, actually, yes, this is what I need. And she put me in touch with a woman in Bristol called Helen Hodder. Again, see, another intuition and another moment of like, we can always make lemonade, and we don't have to always think that something is good or bad or right or wrong. I fell over. Had I not fallen over, I wouldn't have been given that money. Had I not have been given that money, I wouldn't have gone to this osteo, who then said, do you know Helen Hodder? She's trained with Tammy Kent, who wrote Wild Feminine, which at the time was my absolute favorite book. So, those goosebump moments when you're lying there and you're like, I was meant to come here. No matter how difficult the journey was, the lemonade is, I was meant to come and meet that woman. And so I had my first yoni massage with this woman. I had actually been doing tantra for a while, so I'd experienced that kind of a massage, but this was a very specific treatment. But out of that, Helen then messaged me and said, why didn't you apply for a scholarship during lockdown? And here I am 2 years later, graduated in holistic pelvic care. So, the magic of these journeys, it's like, who would think these things? And then yesterday, there I was, just like, my life is beautiful. And I'm so, so, so grateful. And this can be all of you. I'm just going to do some sliding to see everyone and check that you're all with me. And if anyone has any questions so far on Reb's journey, I mean, you've all seen it. I'm sure you've all witnessed, but it's so inspiring. That the moment when Reb said, I think I'm going to make this thing called Love Ahimsa. And then, like, I think it was only about 6 weeks later, you were like, oh, I can't this weekend because I'm doing this. I'm going on this Reiki thing, and then I'm going on this beach walk. And it was just incredible to see like the unfolding. And again, that this is an example of following your intuition and then seeing the good ripples. And also, like, when we follow our intuition, when our, essentially then our cup is full up, we're a nicer human being to everyone else. But also it's like we are in service to our purpose, to the reason that we came here. And so as a result of that, we create these beautiful ripples into the world. And like, look at what web is doing, like the beautiful ripples that are happening as a result of Love Ahimsa. So, I would love to do a little process, a little example of our glasses. um, you're welcome to create your glasses with me everywhere. So, what I would like to do is I'm going to invite you to put everyone on gallery mode. That's what it's called, I think. Gallery mode, right? Where you can see everyone. And I'm just going to guide you through a little process. So, you're going to just observe everyone. And we're just going to show that, your perception, what you believe creates your reality. So just take a minute to take everyone in. And I'm going to invite you to imagine that everyone in this space is really funny. Just imagine that in front of you are a load of comedians, and just even looking at them, you are amused. These are the funniest bunch of human beings you've ever seen. Then I'm going to invite you to just close your eyes and rub that out. And to imagine that what you're going to see in front of you next are a load of really mean people. Really mean people, they have not got your back. Opening your eyes and just taking in this bunch of very mean people. Just really behold these people who you can't trust, who you don't feel safe around. Just take in their meanness. Then I'm going to invite you to close your eyes again. You can rub that out. I'm going to invite you to this time, next time you open your eyes, you're going to behold a group of people who you feel really comfortable with, who you do really trust, who you feel really held by. When you're ready, just open your eyes and just see what you notice about these people in front of you. These people are really good people, really great people that you would call out and they would come and help and support you no matter what. And then closing your eyes one more time. This time I'm going to invite you to see in front of you a bunch of people who don't fit, the misfits, the not belongers. When you're ready, open your eyes and just notice how much these people don't belong. Why are they even here? They just don't fit. And then closing your eyes one last time. And this time we're going to open our eyes and we're going to see a family, a community, a collective. So beautiful in their diversity. And each one of these individuals an absolute genius, an absolute goddess. I invite you to imagine when you open your eyes that you can see, almost like you can see their genius above their heads, like a little halo. They are absolutely incredible beings. Just opening your eyes and taking in these incredible beings, each one with incredible gifts to share, each one with a unique experience, a unique wisdom to offer. And I'm going to invite now, just like we did before, a little share of what did you notice? Is there anything that came up for you in that exercise? Right, me too. And yeah, like just to notice that when you go about your day, I think a really good place is like those kind of mundane tasks that you interact with someone that you don't know. Like maybe it's a waitress, or a waiter. Maybe it's like that ticket person. But how do we project onto them, and then how does that change how they behave with us? And I do really enjoy doing it, like sometimes, actually just playing with that and seeing like, wow, yeah, your perception creates your reality. If you treat someone with love and respect, you're going to get that mirror back to you. The minute we kind of change into, and you're like, oh, they're mean, they're bad. And I think that's why I'm saying, like, those interactions that you have, because sometimes we can catch ourselves, like we wouldn't do that with a friend, but there's this kind of like, because it's a service and it's an exchange, we can sort of switch into that, oh, you're bad, you've done that wrong. And just to notice how much, when we do that to somebody, what do they mirror back? Whereas if we go, okay, and there's a wonderful exercise which Webb knows well, called bowing down. We do a lot in this work, where you essentially bow down to somebody's greatness. And we closed with that, kind of really taking in someone's greatness and just assuming that they have this wonderful gift to share with the world. One of the people I work with often does like loves to ask taxi drivers about what they love, and just see how animated, how much that changes the conversation, and probably how not many people will do that, have that conversation of like, what do you love, with their taxi driver. And so, it's sort of essentially like another little ripple of this work, of just having that conversation with people and getting people to kind of light up and share their fire. Time is flying. So I would love to do a little meditation to just get you into the kind of I can't think what the word is, the state of innocence. So innocence, I mean, there's so many words. I just love all the different words that we can look at to understand this word. So for me, innocence is really intuition, but it's also our inner sense. It is being in no sense. So it's letting go of that idea that we know. That, for example, when I fell over in the car park that time, my instinct was like, this is bad. But actually, that caused these beautiful ripples. So being in no sense is letting go of the need to know, based on the past, what something means. And in particular, based on, for example, my belonging belief. Somebody does something that's painful, that means I don't belong. This is like what our brains are doing all the time. And actually, I'd love to share. So I watched, I don't know if anyone saw The Wisdom of Trauma. It's this series that's been on the internet the past week with Gabor Mate. And there was a really great example with Tim Ferriss, who wrote The 4-Hour Work Week, which is definitely my goal, by the way, getting to that 4-hour work week where you just spend most of your time doing what you would love and just enjoying the money coming in. But Tim Ferriss said that he had gone away on a holiday, and he'd kind of set a task for somebody, like, I don't know, someone in his house, some member of staff. He'd set this task for this member of staff to do. And he got back from his holiday and it hadn't been done. And he said to Gabor Mate, so I got really, really pissed off and I sacked them. And they had this sort of conversation about, like, why did that happen? And he was like, well, Gabor said, how did you feel? And he was like, I felt really angry and I felt really disappointed. And Gabor said, well, let's be honest, actually, you felt really sad. And he said, yeah, okay, I did. I felt really sad. And he said, why did you feel sad? And he was like, because I felt like I'd been disrespected and that he didn't care about me. And he went lower, kind of like went below the surface. And Tim Ferriss admitted, actually, I felt like I wasn't lovable. It was a reaffirmation that he didn't love me. That was what was really going on. What's that? That's our childhood wounds, right? That's an absolute play out. Do we really think that that member of staff was like, I don't love Tim Ferriss, so I'm not going to do the job that I've been employed to do? No, but our little brains go, this means this, therefore I don't belong, I'm not lovable, I'm not worthy, I'm not good enough. And so this work is really about unlearning that, coming into this state of in no sense, so that we can unlearn all those things that we know or we think we know about ourselves and about the world. So we have innocence, in no sense, our inner sense, our intuition, our bliss, our isness, our joy. And for me, this state is really about waking up to just being in a state of wonder. And we have the beautiful Raphael here, wonderfully demonstrating that state of wonder that children, they just do it, they just fall into that state of what, or they don't even fall into it. They are in a state of wonder. They are present in every single moment. But what happens in our lives is we experience difficult things and they make imprints on us. And then we make up what everything means and we get stuck in the past. And we're busy going, if that person hadn't done that to me, we've got this whole inner dialogue that's actually taking us away from the beauty and the wonder of the moment that we're in right now. And I think, like, I said, I love my house. Actually, what I've realized is even when I didn't love things that I was experiencing, there was absolute beauty in every single one of those moments. It's just that I had those glasses on and I'm learning to take them off. And that's what this state is. So we're going to do a meditation, but I would like to do one more little, what are you learning? Just check in. If has anything landed of what I've just said now, so that I know that you're still with me. Awesome. So I'm going to invite you all to just close your eyes. And I'm shifting because I really love to kind of think of this line. I call it the pole of the body. So it's like we're aligning each chakra. So I'm just going to invite you to kind of shift in whatever way you need to get those chakras aligned. Beautiful. So closing your eyes, we're just going to start with just noticing the breath and just allowing the breath to slow. I'm going to invite you to imagine the chakras, which we'll go through in order, but imagine them almost like hot coals. We're going to start with the root. I'm going to invite you to imagine, first of all, just walking around this space. You can imagine like a mini you, almost like you're walking around a forest, but this forest is actually just your own root, and you're just getting to know, how is it here? And that image of the hot coal, I'm going to invite you to, every time you exhale, you know how if you blow on a hot coal or on Palo Santo, which I'm going to get out, you'll see it kind of light up. I'm going to invite you to imagine as you exhale that you're lighting up that hot coal and just bringing your root chakra back online. I'm going to do that with 3 breaths. And the root color is the color red. It's very much about survival or fear. And when we transmute it, when we come into balance, we can really create abundance, health, wealth. And it's the color of deep red. When you feel complete there, we're going to move up into the sacral chakra, the womb space, the pelvic bowl. This is the place of boundaries. This is the place where intuition really lives. This is the place of pleasure. When we're out of balance, we can really be out of touch with ourselves. And the color of this chakra is this deep orange. So again, imagining this hot coal that as you exhale, you're just bringing that back online. When you feel complete, we're going to move up to the navel chakra, Manipura, which is the color yellow, and is really the space of willpower, of taking action. When it's out of balance, it can be very much about our ego, our beliefs, our insecurities, and us making sense of ourselves based on the rest of the world. And again, you're just going to use that exhale to breathe into this space, to light it back up, to turn your fire back on. And then when you feel complete, we're going to come up to the heart space, the color of green, the color of nature. This is the space of relationships, of connection to others. It's also the place of finding balance within us, coming back on that hero's journey back home to ourselves and balancing our own masculine and feminine within us. Again, just breathing into this space, you can imagine this green heart energy spreading out throughout your lungs, your heart space, your whole body. Then coming up to the throat, a beautiful turquoise color, Vishuddhi. This is the space of communication and expression and the archetype of the artist. When we're out of balance here, we can often not speak our truth, not express our boundaries, or we can step over boundaries and hurt other people. I always imagine this is kind of like this really bright, shining turquoise. It's like light, it's like a luminescence as you blow onto this or breathe into this space. You can imagine this brilliance. You also want to just think about lengthening the back of the neck and slightly dipping your chin so you can really sit in that regal position if you are claiming your crown. Then we're going to come up to the brow chakra. This time I invite you to imagine like a golden pyramid inside the brow. You can imagine all those thoughts, all those beliefs no longer serving you, just sliding off down the sides of this beautiful pyramid. And that in the center of this is your intuition, your imagination, your dreams. And again, just breathing into this space, but really allowing the other thoughts to just fall away and to just be at peace in that beautiful pyramid. And finally, coming up to the crown, imagine as if you are balancing this crown upon your head. And as we just breathe into this space, I invite you to just feel the connection, the connectivity to every other beautiful human in this space, in this world, in this universe. I invite you to imagine connecting to Indira's web, which is this idea that we have this collective consciousness. That every single person is a genius, a goddess with incredible gifts to share with the world. From this space, I'm going to invite you to imagine that you are walking now through a beautiful forest and really allowing your heart to open as you connect to nature. Notice the deep greens, the beautiful colors of this forest. Hear the sounds. Breathe in that rich, beautiful smell of nature. You're going to come to a path that separates out. Notice that the left pathway just has this resonance to you. It's like your heart knows, your brow knows, your womb knows to walk towards this space. Following this left path until it opens out into a beautiful field of purple flowers. And as you walk through this purple field of flowers, all you can see as far as you look is purple. Noticing how much your crown is also blossoming, glowing, coming back online. And in the distance, you see this beautiful temple. In your heart, just you know that there's something important for you there. Taking yourself to the temple, walking up the steps. And inside the temple, you see a crib, a cot in the center of the room. And you're going to walk up to this crib, this cot. You're going to look down and behold this beautiful baby that represents innocence, innocence, our innocence, our nonsense, our joy, our bliss, our isness. And as you behold this baby, just allow yourself to really be informed by how it is to be in this state. Just observe their state of awe and wonder at the world, their wanderlust. And suddenly it occurs to you that you can actually shapeshift and become this baby. So now you're going to step into the crib and become that baby, looking up in wonder at this beautiful temple, knowing in every cell of your body of your own gifts, talents, wonder, the innocence, the joy that you have to share with the world. Really allow yourself to be informed by this state of awe. And then softly, safely, gently, we're going to begin to fall through a purple mist down through the bottom of the crib, down, 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 until you become like mist floating safely, gently down through the universe, past the stars, until you look up at these millions of tiny stars and realize that every star represents one of your beliefs, and that you are in this state of wholeness without them. You can just look and observe all these stories that you've made up about yourself. And you can stand in your full, whole presence. In this state of wholeness now, I invite you to just notice your body, yourself sitting in space. I'm going to invite you to just take 2 minutes to softly open your eyes and just behold, just take in the space around you in this state of innocence. If you want to get up and walk around, but to just take 2 minutes to really be present with yourself in this state. I'll stay here, but just take this journey with your eyes, with your body, and I invite you to just follow what your heart desires for 2 minutes. What takes your interest? What are your eyes drawn to? What is your heart drawn to? If you do want to adventure, if you do want to walk, just take that moment to be with yourself, to gift yourself, to connect to your whole self and your own awe, your own wonder. I'll give us another minute. I'll let you know when it's time to come back. Taking a last 30 seconds, and then we'll have another little share of anything you noticed in that state. So, welcome back. I think we'll do like a little kind of a writing-y exercise to close, but I'd just like to share, how was that journey? Anything you noticed, anything you observed, right? And this, like for me, that of you can align your chakras, and that's our ultimate posture, right? And you can align them anywhere you go and just transform, and also transform how you hold yourself, how other people receive you. Because if we go back to that, your perception creates your reality. If you meet someone that's in this state, or if they're in this state, or in this state, it all creates the ripples. And we talk a lot in the Goddess Path about our goddess voice, and how we can leak everywhere. Our beliefs come out in our posture, our beliefs come out in our voice, our beliefs come out everywhere. And I think this is such a good example of like how we can just come back home to our whole self with a simple change of posture. And it's about learning to listen. I call it listen to the whisper. And actually it's just come to my head. So I went to South Africa, and then a place called Eswatini a couple of years back. It was actually part of kind of my training in this work, but it was also, I managed to combine it with a dance trip and do a show there, which was awesome. But I found this little postcard, and it said, "Open your eyes, life is in the details." And it just, it's now in my hallway, because it was just like, that's it. When we have our eyes open, when we're in a state of innocence, we can see the clues and we can recognize the synchronicities that they're happening all the time. I don't know if any of you are familiar with the Celestine prophecy. So I read that, I think when I was like 16 or 17, and I was just like, there's so much truth in this book. But I actually love, I think he's called Michael Redfield, the author. I love his teachings. And if you like, he's got a lot of books where he actually explains the principles of what his kind of books are about. The books are not that well written. They're pretty like, it's like one of those Netflix films that is like on the really low budget, where you're like, actually it's a really great storyline, but they couldn't really afford to. It's one of those of a book, but it's got, the principles are magic. And he talks a lot about the synchronicities and learning to pay attention to those synchronicities, because those are the clues that we want to follow. That butterfly, like what does that symbol mean? All of these little clues are just going like, yes, you're on the right path. And that, like, keep going, like the little Dora fish, just keep swimming, just keep on following that kind of web of nuggets of magic. And yeah, eventually, you'll end up in whatever it is that you are creating, your dream state. So we have 4 minutes, which is not much time, but I would love to offer a little meditation, or a little kind of free writing exercise that you can take away and use anytime. So if you don't already, I invite you to just pick up a book and a pen or a pencil. And you are going to write at the top of the page, what would my heart love today? We're going to do a 1 minute brain dump free write. But I'm going to invite you to just imagine, in fact, just close your eyes for a moment. I'm going to invite you to just imagine that you are supported by many angels, many spirit guides, many ancestors who are there supporting you. And that they're going to help you to write this. And that if ever you get stuck, all you need to do is just close your eyes and go back inside and connect. And then you're going to free write. So your first task for 1 minute is, what would I love? I can't remember quite my words. Was it, what would I love to create today?
What would my heart love today?
There we go. Thank you. What would my heart love today? And off you go. You have 45 seconds left. Okay, so now you're going to write, why can't I have it? Just let your victim have a little bit of fun with all the reasons you can't have it. Maybe it's going to make you giggle a little bit. Maybe it's not. Maybe you're really in it today. I'm aware that we're going over, so I'll make sure we finish in the next 3 minutes. Just have a little bit of fun with that poor me story. And then just like that Gabor Mate story that I told earlier, you're going to go with the wisdom of what's really going on here. So going a layer deeper from the this is why I can't. What's really going on here? What's this really about? And if you're not sure, just ask your spirit guides to come online and support you writing this. Because their wisdom is often us outside of our victim story. And then the last exercise to close, I'm going to invite you to close your eyes one more time and just reconnect to what would your heart love today. And I'm going to invite you to imagine as if you're going to create a bridge between yourself now and that what your heart would love today. Just see that bridge building between yourselves and them there, really living in what your heart would love. See them across this bridge, really living that thing that your heart would love today. And you're going to step onto this bridge and just take that journey across. You can imagine that this journey of taking that walk across the bridge is actually changing time and space as you turning into them, all your stories of why you can't, all those things that are really going on here falling off. Maybe the journey is easy, maybe there's all sorts of things trying to put you off. But just keep going, just keep swimming like that little fish. And when you get to the other side, you're going to turn back and really see this journey across the bridge turning into time and space. Imagine that everything has changed, whatever needed to happen for you to be able to live what your heart would love today has happened. And you're going to look back at that journey and just observe what's obvious about how you got here. Writing that down, because that's the real magic. That's going to be your action step for the day, that one thing that is obvious. And from that one thing, maybe it's a physical thing that you're doing, an action step, or maybe it's just a state of being. But from that one thing, you are going to create those beautiful ripples today and really transform how you experience life today. And we did it. It's 10:32. But it'd be lovely to just close with another little kind of, what are you going away with? Magic. This is being an alchemist is, okay, so how do I make the lemonade? I have all of these tools. Okay, so what's obvious? And that's all you have to do is take that step that's obvious. Maybe it's like, have a break, sit on your balcony for 5 minutes. It can be that simple thing, but it can make such a change in how you are, in the state that you are, and in how other people receive you as well. Going back to that thing of the throat chakra and how often when we are out of balance, we actually do harm, which is exactly the principles of Love Ahimsa. So I'm going to leave it there with my words of, when we do this work, we really can live that Ahimsa life and really be a beautiful, create a beautiful ripple in the world. If anyone else would like to share, I'm going to hand it to you. And then Reb, I'm handing back over. Thank you, everyone. It's been a joy to be with you all this morning.